Hey, what's going on, everybody? BDM 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I was watching Kwame Brown's live this morning, and he brought up some very interesting points about the AD Dwight Howard confrontation on the bench uh, against the Phoenix Suns yesterday. Some pretty good points that I think I touched slightly on, but not to the extent that I would like to now. Um, so basically, jumped straight in. I really feel like Anthony Davis hurt Dwight Howard's position on this team with the altercation. Uh, Dwight Howard and Dwight and AD got into it in some kind type of verbal exchange that we couldn't hear. So I'm not certain, obviously, what was said. We will never know what was said or what it was about. Um, from my point of view, watching the game, Dwight Howard has been doing some things that put the Lakers in a position to kind of feel like maybe he was hurting the team a little bit in terms of just, as I mentioned in the previous video, fouling, getting into it with the refs, just kind of making himself kind of shiny for the referees to see out there, and not so positive ways. And I think that that kind of carried over into yesterday's game. You couple that with the 75th anniversary list, the extension of the 50 greatest players list that came out that had Dwight Howard excluded from it, but had Carmelo Anthony, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Russell Westbrook on it. So, you could see where the tension could be created by such an environment starter as that list and the controversy surrounding it. So I feel like it could have created some tension in and of itself. But I think the most important thing that we got to understand is, and in listening to what Kwame had to say and listening to Magic Johnson, you just don't do that on the bench for the world to see, for ESPN and all those guys to kind of witness. You're at Staples Center, you got stars all over the place. It's just one of those situations where it's like, even though it's something that could very well be straightened out quickly, and it maybe was, the fallout from it is just going to have such dire consequences for Dwight Howard, in theory, because of the fact that he's so significantly less valuable to the Lakers than to Anthony Davis, and to the league than Anthony Davis at this stage in his career. And I just feel like, when you have that type of power over a guy and you use it in such a way that he can't really defend himself properly, it just doesn't help people's image of you. It makes you look weak in some ways if you're cognizant of that you're doing it. It's like, that man can't fight you back. Come on, bro. He's the one that's going to have to take the brunt of all of this, even if you're in the wrong. So that's just, Kwame Brown stated it, and I have to agree, that's poor leadership. And look, I've been in situations where, and this is the most recent situation actually in my previous job, where, I had a younger person who was above me who had just been given some power. In fact, I've seen this more than once. Now think about it. Where a young person has been given some power, or a person who's like my age has been given some power for the very first time, and they have an understanding of how a leader's supposed to behave, but it doesn't translate to actually having people rally around them and do what it is that they want them to do. So it just comes off as them going about it the wrong way, and it looks like a lack of understanding of how to be a leader, etc. That's what I see there with Anthony Davis. And I said this too, when you bring certain players to your circle, certain personalities are personalities that people want to kind of prove things to, kind of want to show that they're hard around it, want to show that they're tough around these certain types of people. I don't think we had a lot of those guys on this team over the last several years. This year, I believe we may have a few of those guys, to where you not gonna punk me in front of so and so. It's just like understood. Like, yo, we around people, real official dudes. I'm not about to look weak in front of them. And it's that kind of thing that could have been in place as well, as I mentioned in yesterday's video. At the end of the day, AD, man, he's going to have to understand that when you do stuff like that, it's not harmless. I don't know that he does or does not understand this. I don't know. But I'm saying it must be understood as star players going forward. When you are on the bench and you get into an altercation with the other player, that's power you're wielding. If you're a franchise player versus a a youngster or a franchise player versus a role player. It's something that it's a button you probably shouldn't push too often. You know what I mean? Because even though you have that power, people also see you using that power and may not appreciate you abusing that power. You know, we live in a world where obviously a lot of people feel like they've been pushed around by people with power. You know, just in general, a lot of people will buck a system or go against authority just in general because of how authority has been abused over the years on this planet. So, you know, people are looking for people to abuse their power. People are looking for people to take advantage of situations where they have privilege. So you got to be very careful at the era that you're in doing that. In any other era, most people are just gonna say, you know what? Yeah, it sucks, but Dwight needs to chill out because AD's important. Now in this era, people are looking at AD like, yo, you bullying Dwight. You know that boy can't defend himself. Like, that's more of a conversation than it ever would have been before. So players in power and people in power need to be very, very careful. And I'm saying the same thing about the Philadelphia organization in regards to Ben Simmons. You got power, you need to be very careful how you look. Because we're in the era of mental health respects, identification, respect, and standing up for all that. And just making sure that people understand where you stand. All of that. That's the era we're in. Whether I'm strong or not, whether I'm in a position or not, you're going to hear me, my voice is heard, etc., etc. It's not the time to be abusing your power. It's not the time to be little broing people in front of everybody when you know they have a position that they can't overcome going against you. So that's what I wanted to also point out, and just in general, just be very, very clear about that, because I don't think it's clear to any of us on the outside what type of person AD is in regards to whether or not he meant to do that or not. I don't have any idea, but it doesn't look good from afar either way. And I'll say this, Dwight Howard needs to, as I said, settle down, bro. I said that before the video, before that incident. In the video that I made prior to the game, that was the emphasis I had on the game in regards to Dwight. You got to settle down, bro, because I know you're coming out of a tense situation in Philly. Y'all lost in a very heartbreaking way. Some people, it's some stuff going on in that old environment that probably carried over. I'm sure he's glad to get out of there, but, it is what it was. You're not there no more. And, it's the responsibility to behave a certain way as a Laker. You've been here twice now. We know you. You know us. It's not about the fans. We ain't never going to have a problem with you going forward. We've already made peace with you forever, but it ain't gonna be nothing for the organization to let you go, bro. Nothing. Now I think everybody's gonna have that on their tongue all week long, so you're gonna hear that enough, but it's just is what it is, y'all. He can't do this. He's been on thin ice for many years. I think he was left off the 75 list because of that, not because of what he did on the court or didn't do on the court. It's because of everybody remembering how sour things went in Orlando and blame him for it. And then they look over at Ben Simmons and Kyrie right now. Stuff like that is happening right now. That's another reason why I didn't like that list, because it was too right now. I think the people who were voting are too today. And one thing about getting older, you understand that people get stuck in eras, and you don't want to get caught up in the era you're in too much to where you can't see the bigger picture in regards to what it is you're looking at. Like, we must put this player because he's doing it right now. We must put this player. It's like, no, you don't. You need to zoom out, look at all the players for what they are as a complete package. And some of the players who haven't finished their careers probably shouldn't even be on those lists unless they're of a certain caliber that has already been significantly established. They didn't do that. They put some of the players on there that probably need to continue to play in order to get themselves actually in a position to do that, to be at that level, in my opinion. It just... and left some guys off whose careers are already complete and have already shown us that they are exactly who you think some of those guys on that list that made it are going to ultimately become. And I don't like that. I don't think most people like that, but it is what it is, man. So I personally think whatever is going on with AD and Dwight, they can work it out, but there will be new problems. There'll be new problems. That's the problem with a situation like this. It's not, okay, we cool, let's move on. No, not at all. This is a media frenzy type topic that's going to carry over for the rest of the season. because every time the Lakers have any sense of dysfunction of any kind, they're going to refer back to this fight. And if there's another fight, it's going to be something that they go to call a pattern, and they're going to create problems between these two. In fact, I can argue the 75 list was put in place so that circumstances like this could take place to give the NBA more to talk about. 5 of these guys on the same team. Come on, man. As I said, I'm seeing things, and there's a theme going on, because I think the same thing went on with Philadelphia when they put Ben Simmons in that practice and then asked him to do stuff that they knew he wasn't going to want to do. It created the environment that they knew he would behave a certain way within. You know, it's like putting a mouse in a certain type of maze. You put him in a maze, you know what he's going to do. You just got to figure out if he's going to figure his way out of it. But the point is, you put him in that environment so he can only go in certain directions. That's what was created there for Ben Simmons. Of course, he wasn't going to want to run those drills. He's already having trouble overcoming his ego as it pertains to wanting to walk in there in the first place. Of course, he wasn't going to want to do none of that crap. You knew that. So you asking him to do those things just created the environment for him to behave the way that he did. I think no differently in regards to this list, in regards to what we saw out there on that basketball floor between those Hall of Famers not playing well. I think that if you zoom out the list, of course, is much more important in today's situation. But as I said, those who were voting and those who put that list together, they weren't thinking about forever. They were thinking about today. And that's what I don't like about it. And so that's what I think was going on. It's a lot of, let's stir the pot. Let's throw a monkey wrench in the season that can further give us more topics to speak about. Because the NBA is absolutely and utterly in love with the attention that they get from conversations such as these. And I think fans like myself don't help because we love these conversations as well. Right? We do. But at the end of the day, it stirs up bad energy between real people who, in a lot of cases, have vast differences in how much they're making, but not vast differences in terms of how much effort they're putting into what it is that they do. So the classism environment alone is enough. You don't need controversy and narratives and things of that nature to further create drama. Drama can manifest just from the environment without this crap. So I would love for the NBA to find a way to kind of control these circumstances a bit better, you know, mold the league and how they operate a bit better to fit the environment that they're in. I think it's too many roadblocks at this point for the players to use the power that they have and then reach certain places where they can't get any further. It's like a guy like LeBron James can only make a certain amount of money. It's capped off. And then like a guy like Luka Doncic can only see a ceiling but so much. And even though he's really, really good, he can only get but so much talent around him. It's like it's just certain things in the NBA that even though it's working, the game is changing, the environment's changing, the players' values are changing, all this stuff is changing. I think the rules and the overall functioning of the league needs to find a way to change with it. Just in general, man. That's what I think. So as we move forward, I'm just going to be paying attention, of course, to AD and Dwight Howard. You know, I'm going to pay attention to the Lakers, of course, as a fan, but it's not. The sky's not falling. What's happening is guys that are used to winning are losing, and the pressure is on because of the uniform they're wearing. I think if everybody was putting on a Milwaukee Bucks uniform, I think this is a different environment. But the pressure is different when you look over, see this star, you look over, see that star, as I said. You look up, see the banners, you look up and see the names. It's like, even though you're a Carmelo Anthony, even though you're a Russell Westbrook, you have looming over you, undisputably and undoubtedly, greatness that you have to meet up, you have to live up to. And until you find yourself in this uniform, you've never been in anything like this. And it can be very fun for a lot of guys, but as we've seen very recently, it's a detriment to a lot of guys' careers. Guys have come here, left, and been much better. And that's a theme that the Lakers are going to have to be honest about. Even though we're winning as an organization, guys are flourishing individually elsewhere, and I think that can trickle down to having issues attracting people if we don't be careful about that long term. But all in all, I still like what we have. We just, as Kwame said, have a bunch of names right now until we get a system down there that works, until we respect our bigs, as he said as well, get them the ball, put them in positions to be successful, use them, basically. then we'll be struggling. I think that of course we have a lot of things to work out with getting our players back. Our shooting guard position is hurt right now because most of the players in that position are hurt, but we'll get them all back. And when we do, I think we'll understand what it is that this thing is meant to be. The one thing I know about LeBron James teams is that each and every piece matters. Each and every person in the team, on the team, has a role that they have to play to make the machine itself run. And if you're missing certain pieces from LeBron James teams, it's not going to run properly. That's the thing about him. And I say LeBron James put together teams because I know he has a great significant role in putting together every team he's on. And that's what it is. It's because he understands the game in such a way, and owners and GMs respect him in such a way to kind of just do what it is that's best in putting players around him that he likes. And I'm going to tell the truth. This is God's honest truth. I think LeBron James is looking for challenges. Because the fits that he's been trying to bring to him in Laker uniform has not been conventional fits. It's like, and this is going to segment me into an entirely different topic, but we'll go there anyway. It's like he's searching for ways to overcome the ghost of Michael Jordan's, 6-0 record. Like, you can't, in the finals, you cannot overcome that. So he's looking for ways. Like, how can I, let's see. Now, if I'm able to win with a bunch of kids, right? Because that's what he was going to try to do the first year with the Lakers. He wasn't coming with nobody. I mean, it would have been nice for you to get Paul George, but we knew we weren't getting Paul George because we were going to save money for Anthony Davis. So he was coming here by himself. And if he didn't get hurt, his intention was to drag this team like he did the Cleveland Cavaliers before with Clarkson in them to the finals. He was going to try to do that. That's not the best way to get a championship. The easiest way for him to get a championship that year was to sign a one-year deal elsewhere until the Lakers were able to get Anthony Davis first and then bring himself here afterward. But he wanted to go the hard way. He wanted to go about it the hard way. And I think in coming to the Lakers, he wanted to take on that pressure, maybe winning multiple championships with the Lakers to kind of put him in a position to be closer to Mike. It's like he's fighting that. He really is going after that. And I think him bringing Russell Westbrook to him is him essentially saying, I can win a championship with this guy. The next greatest guy next to me could not. Would Mike be able to win a championship with Russell Westbrook? Could anybody win it? No, I can. That's what he's essentially saying. I'm able. You give me my pieces, and I can build around Russell Westbrook. And that's going to be something he tries to weigh against against Michael Jordan's resume. That's exactly what he's trying to do. He's giving himself more difficult fits to try to make work so that he can weigh his resume against Michael in that impossible finals record. I know he's doing this, and I don't think too many people are mentioning it, but there are easier ways to put together championship teams than what he's asked the Lakers to put together. I'm just being honest. Easier ways. Russell Westbrook is a very unconventional fit, and it's hard to win with him. Look, it's not a secret, bro. KD's one of the greatest players ever played the game, and he got away from the dude for a very specific reason, and it hasn't worked with others either, and as he's been on our team for the first couple of weeks, I've known why it doesn't necessarily work, but I think if LeBron James can make it work, it'll put him closer to MJ. It'll definitely put him closer to MJ. To say I helped get Russie get a ring, it's a big thing. So, yeah, I think LeBron James is chasing challenges for a reason. That's what I think. So, I don't want Dwight Howard to get traded or waived. Could we upgrade at the center position? Hell yeah. Could we benefit from an upgrade at the center position? Absolutely. Do I think that needs to come in the form of Dwight Howard leaving? I do not. Whatever the hell we're going to do with the center position, I want him to be a part of it. Period. Problem is, I'm not running the show, man. I'm not running the show. And he messed up. And maybe he was right in his positioning. Maybe he was in the right, but it doesn't matter. And that's the sad part about it. Even though, as I said, these conversations are going to be had where people are going to be pointing at AD. That's not how it works behind the scenes as it pertains to organizations. At the end of the day, the contract states that AD is making hundreds of millions of dollars and $100 million plus. And, of course, Dwight Howard's on a small deal. So that right there tells you what the game is, what the situation is above all else. So, He just want AD to be cognizant of that and protect his players. You know, that's what I would say to AD, brother. Your number one job is not to get in the face of people and scream. That's not leadership. Leadership is walking out there and keeping your poise, and then bringing that energy to him when y'all in the locker room. Um, and how you do that in the locker room is done a certain way as well. You don't show up your homeboy, your teammate, excuse me, or your coworker in front of other coworkers and management and leadership either. You take that man to the side and you sit him down. You say, "This is what I didn't like about what happened there. This is why I was upset at you. This is why I called you out earlier and said we need to talk later, because that is how you handle it." And you keep that energy with him in his face, sitting down as a man. That's when a man respects you. You know, professionally especially. I remember I had situations like that as well, where I had to sit down with somebody and let them know I didn't have a problem with them, but I also wasn't up for some of the stuff that was taking place between us. And we got along just fine. We didn't have similar personalities, but me and that dude always knew if we ever had problems, it was never gonna be no energy. It was gonna be us sitting down like that, because that was established early. And I'd like to think that AD will understand that is how to do it. You know, and in the conversation that I'm referring to, he was the boss. The other guy was the boss. So I commended him for handling it that way as well. I think we both collaborated on making it happen that way, rather than to blow up in front of everybody. Me making him look a certain way, him making me look a certain way. It just wasn't good at all. Mostly for me, because of my position. So I appreciated that he recognized that. And AD, as a leader, you will learn to recognize that too. Protect your players. You know, if you got his back, you call him your brother and have his back. Don't put him in a position to have to get himself fired and kicked out the league. You already know he's in thin ice, bro. That's not how you do it. How you do it is you keep your voice low. You respect that man, whether he's. And I know a lot of people are saying his resume is why you respect him. Look at what he's done, and a lot about resumes are talking right now, because it's about that 76 list and all that crap. So everybody's feeling a certain way, but you got to recognize that too, the environment of why a guy like Dwight Howard may not be acting right, why he'd feel away right now. You got to calm yourself down, not feel insecure about your position on that list because of whatever may feel way, whoever may say what. You know what I mean? Because that kind of environment is in existence as well, for AD to have to bite that horrible apple that they put out there for him to eat. And at the end of the day, recognize that you're trying to win a championship with guys who have done big things in their careers just like you, and they want nothing more than to put their egos aside and run through a wall for you. I believe Dwight when he said that. I think a lot of that was lip service that had to be said, as I think most of what Dwight has said to the media to start this tenure as a Laker has been stuff that you're supposed to say to the media by Dwight Howard. But I think at the end of the day, a lot of that was true. I do believe Dwight Howard runs through a wall for his teammates. I do think it matters that he wins. I do think that he's serious about standing up for people, because I've seen him do it. And I want the Lakers to consider that, because what I've seen out of Dwight Howard was somebody that has come to the defense of people like KCP, come to the defense of other players as well when they were struggling, and didn't take the bait as it pertains to feeding into the jokes about certain players when they were down. And I remember him doing it in multiple occasions. So when we're considering Dwight Howard's character as it pertains to what he's displayed, let this not be something that we isolate away from some of the good things that he's done in his redemption story with this team. He's taken a very hard road through a lot of teams, drug his knees through some glass to get back to where he's at. I think he's paid his dues to get the type of respect that display would give him, not the Orlando days. So that's what I want to say. I know this is not, the most fun topic for everybody to listen to, but honestly, I just want to get that out there, because I don't think Dwight should be waived or traded because of how this looks, even though by the book, that's what you do in situations like this. Not this time. First of all, you need his size. He's the best rebounder you got, and That's not me trying to be funny. I'm dead serious about that. It's between him and Russell Westbrook, the best rebounders on this team, and we have rebounding issues. So don't just give away Dwight Howard. You need him. He's in great shape. He's one of the superstars that has taken care of his body the entire time. And, that's what I want to say. I just feel like a good word needs to be put in for Dwight Howard just in general, because he ain't that kind of guy. He's not the kind of guy putting his hands on people, and I don't expect him to be the kind of guy to allow people to put his hands on him. So, we have to respect that. Even though he's in a position that is not powerful right now, you don't allow a man to step over you without standing up. And when that man puts his hands on you, you being upset about it is warranted. So we need to make sure we say that as well. All right, that's what I got, man. This might be one of the videos that drag a little bit too much, but I do appreciate you guys watching either way. And my name is BDF44. I'm out.